the San Bruno City Council meeting of March 25th, 2014. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Salazar.
Here.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Here.
Councilmember Aguirre.
Here.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Here.
Mayor Ruiz.
Here. Carol, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have an announcement. The annual pancake breakfast and Easter egg hunt will be held on April 12th, 9 to 11 a.m. at San Bruno City Park. The Easter egg hunt begins promptly at 11 a.m. I'd like you all to join us. And thank you for the floral arrangement that's always presented. Thank you to the Garden Club. Presentations this evening. We're going to present a proclamation proclaiming April 1st, 2014 as Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service to Program Coordinator Deborah Otto. I'll just...
Mayor,
Yes.
Deborah's going to be delayed
Okay.
because she went to Millbrae first, and then she's going to come and receive it when she gets done there.
All right. Just let me know when she arrives and we'll see if we can fit her in. Thank you. Review of the agenda. I'd like to move item 11, which is the report of Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, to right after 8, which are public hearings, if there's no objection. Approval of the minutes of special council meeting of March 11, 2014, and regular council meeting of March 11, 2014. Any errors, corrections, or omissions? Seeing none, they'll stand approved as submitted. Consent calendar. All items are considered routine or implement an earlier council action and may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless requested by a council member, citizen, or staff.
Through the chair.
Ken?
7E as in Eric.
All right. Item E, anything else?
Move to accept.
Second.
Motion second to accept the remainder of the consent calendar. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item E. Item E is accept the resignation from Planning Commissioner committee member, declare a committee member vacancy, and direct the city clerk to initiate the process for appointment of a new member. Ken?
I would just like to publicly thank Commissioner Bob Marshall Jr. for his service on the Planning Commission. He's made it very clear what the conflicts that he's had, but I did want to recognize his nearly 20 years of service on a very very important committee and with a lot of accomplishments during his tenure. So with that, I guess we'll be discussing when his time will take effect. But with that, I'd like to congratulate him and accept.
And I would like to echo that also. He's been a good friend and a very good planning commissioner.
Agreed. I'll second that.
Motion second to accept item E. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearings, we do have one public hearing. Hold a public hearing, waive the first reading, and introduce an ordinance to regulate the inspection, repair, and replacement of private sewer laterals at the time of sale of residential property.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. In the temporary absence of the Public Services Director, I'll start out the report by indicating that this is a public hearing and we're requesting that you review and introduce an ordinance to regulate the inspection, repair, and replacement of private sewer laterals. I won't belabor the points that were made last time in an effort to have the staff report be a bit shorter, but we did include many of the provisions that were requested at the last meeting, both by members of the public and by the City Council. As currently written, the ordinance would have an effective date of not until May of 2015, on the assumption that the baykeeper agrees with the city's proposal to have a one-year delay as a result of the sewer lateral program in the Glenview Crestmore neighborhood. The second feature that we added was that properties that are listed in the MLS or that are in escrow as of the implementation date would be exempted. That would avoid any potential delays for properties that are currently in escrow at that time. So that was one of the other features. And then importantly, we've included and continued a 120-day grace period for those repairs to be made if necessary after the close of escrow, so as to ensure that even properties that are covered would not experience a delay in the close of escrow. Number 4, we did consider and include a provision that shared laterals would be exempted. We've discussed that issue with other cities, and they make a decision generally at the time. We think that it's clear to make a decision ahead of time and simply say that we're not going to include those in the program. We don't think there are really that many of them in comparison to the total number of laterals that would be covered. And then finally, we accepted the suggestion that we should not include transfers of property that don't involve some sort of consideration. So if you're refinancing your property, you have to take it out of a trust and then put it back into the trust. That's the sort of thing that would not trigger the ordinance. There are a couple of things we didn't include, so I just want to highlight those. There was one suggestion to have the ordinance apply only to properties for 4 or fewer. We think that residential properties are the reason why the ordinance is being requested and implemented, and that it was better to include all residential uses, whether they are single-family or multifamily dwellings. Of course, unless they have a shared sewer lateral, in that case, it would be exempted. There was also a proposal to exempt properties that are either in foreclosure or there's a short sale or something along those lines. We didn't recommend including that because it's really impossible for the city to become involved in understanding whether property owners are making money, losing money, or breaking even. It's not a business that the city is really able to be in. And then finally, we did consider one of the council members' suggestions about having a rolling 10-year trigger date, and I think we're interested in having some additional discussion about that tonight, and perhaps a way to accomplish that in a manner that achieves the same result but doesn't have some of the drafting issues that I was running into. Finally, we did do some research on the availability of insurance for sewer laterals replacement, and we did find a company that has used various parts of the Peninsula Service Line Warranty of America. We indicated in the staff report that they do provide insurance for bad sewer laterals. There's a modest premium. The company offers up to $4,000 for the upper lateral, $4,000 for the lower lateral. And staff believes that because we have over a year to implement the actual ordinance, that should be sufficient time to make sure that there's plenty of community outreach, to make sure that everybody is aware of the program and is able to sign up if they wish to do so. Now that the Community Services Director is back, I'll ask her if she has any additional questions or comments. But if not, we're open for questions. Request that you open the public hearing, take any public comment, and when that's over, discuss the ordinance and give us direction to introduce this ordinance or one with whatever changes you recommend.
Good.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Clara, anything at this time?
Mark did a very good job, Honorable Mayor, with his presentation. I already shared with my point of view and the overall impact on the system during our prior discussion on this subject in January, February, and the first meeting in March on this issue.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of staff at this time?
Through the chair.
Ken?
I regretted not being at the meeting last time. Went through the agenda and watched the tape. From what I gathered, there was there, correct me if I'm wrong, there was nothing offered as far as comparisons or any other programs in other cities. Any other sewer lateral programs from any other cities?
So those
Only comparisons with point of sale issues or whatever, but there was not in any discussion, there was nothing stated as far as what any other city has done to address sewer lateral replacement or inspection.
So I think if I understand your question, you're asking whether there was a discussion of programs other than point of sale ordinances? And the answer to that is there was a discussion in the attachments that were to last council meeting staff report that talked about a program in Belmont which simply set an end date for the replacement or repair of all sewer laterals. And that was essentially a program that was not a point of sale program. Of course, we know that Belmont was not under the requirement of a baykeeper agreement, as the city of San Bruno is, to specifically adopt an ordinance that requires those repairs to occur at the point of sale.
Okay, so a follow-up is that there's been discussion either during meetings or with Samcar about Burlingame, about programs that Burlingame adopts. No clarification as to what that program was?
The staff, Clara can answer further, but we did consider all of the programs that we could find up and down the peninsula, and what we discovered was many of them are far more restrictive in terms of the types of repairs to a home that would trigger the implementation of the ordinance. Many of the cities, including Burlingame, have provisions that are triggered not just when you sell the property, but when you remodel and make other kinds of improvements. Our proposed ordinance does not include those features.
Thank you. Oh, if I could, did you reference the issue on the condominiums?
Yes. The question of whether the ordinance should apply to condominiums did come up, and it's staff recommendation that condominiums and cooperative apartments be excluded. And the reason for that is because their sewer laterals are often covered by a homeowners association, and they're not owned by the individual unit owner. So those are exempted.
Any other questions of staff before we open the public hearing? All right, we'll open the public hearing at this time. Anyone in the public would like to address the council on this item? On this item. Okay. Seeing none, if I close the public hearing, you're precluded from discussing this with us. Council Perry, do you have something to say on this item?
Yes.
Oh,
Perry Peterson, Scenic Clear. I don't know what you're going to do for discussion, but if you raise items in discussion that public may want to comment on, is it possible you might reopen the public hearing?
it's possible.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Have a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Council discussion?
And so did I. I appreciate, if I may, all the work that staff went into doing the further clarifying all the information and all the questions we had from last time. And I have no other questions or tipping points as far as I can tell. You did want to talk a little more about the 10-year thing. As far as I'm concerned, if you put in there in 9 years, the city revisits this, or however you do it, instead of putting that language inside the ordinance itself, which on second thought would probably be pretty tricky, that's fine. The point to me is, in 10 years, everything's going to be 10 years older, and I want to capture the things that are 10 years older. That's all. Is that, okay. And that's it.
Suggestion, Michael?
Through the chair, yes, thank you. To address the issue that Ms. O'Connell had brought up at the last meeting, I mentioned earlier that perhaps instead of putting in a date, a specific calendar date, that we use the age of the property as a criteria, so that way it automatically addresses the new properties that are becoming older. So every year we have additional properties that are covered by the ordinance, rather than waiting to revisit it every so many years. So rather than saying anything prior to 1960, we say any property that's older than 50 years, for example, would be covered by the ordinance. Well, my question was to the city attorney if there would be any issues with that, or if that's a possibility of changing the language in that manner.
We could certainly do that, and you could introduce the ordinance with that change. If you were to do that, then Section 10.13.030B would be slightly revised to say, for residential properties originally constructed X years, fill in the blank, prior to recordation of the transfer deed, comma, the property owner shall at his or her expense perform the following. So that would accomplish that result.
Okay. Anything else, Ken or Rico?
I'm just going to say that I'm against point of sale, and I've been against point of sale, and I just feel, my feeling here is that we're catering to Baykeeper on a point of sale, and we're not addressing the real issue of trying to avoid sewer overflows and to correct all of the deficient and old sewer laterals in this community. And it just keeps ringing in my ears, the whole mantra of SAMCAR is that it will take 45 years, in good transitions to replace all the sewer laterals. So I'm going to vote no on this and hope that within the next year that we come up with a better solution to address the issue.
Okay. Anything, Rico?
Obviously, at the last meeting, I had quite a few questions and comments, and so I'm still have not moved off my position from last meeting.
Okay. Any action by the council?
May I make one
Sure.
more comment? Okay. One of the things that we discussed that maybe did not make it into a written format was that this, if we pass this, we need to pass something for Baykeepers. If we pass this, it captures more than what they were requiring. It doesn't quite do what you're asking, but it's a start. The other piece is we can have an additional program to move forward to what you're doing. So this is a start. I've asked staff to make sure we bring this back a year after its implementation with statistics showing how much it really does accomplish. And I think after we see that, we can do a better job of capturing more of what we really want to. So I'm satisfied that we can do a good job. And I feel compelled that we really need to do a job now. So with that,
Need a motion to waive the first reading?
I'll move to waive the first reading.
I'll second.
Motion is second to waive the first reading. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
So at this point, if we wanted to make a modification, then we would need a motion to modify the reading that we just waived.
Well, actually, you could simply make a motion to introduce the ordinance
Okay.
with whatever modification you
Okay.
vote on.
Very good.
You want to do that?
Okay. So if there's no other discussion, then I will introduce the ordinance for vote with the change that we modify the calendar date and instead replace that with an age. I think initially I would recommend that we go with 50 years, which would give us the same result as if we were to leave the ordinance the way it was right now.
Okay.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
No.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Yes.
Mayor Ruane.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Medina.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This will be brought back for adoption on the next available consent calendar.
Okay, great, thank you. Now, just before we go to the bicycle and pedestrian discussion, I would like to present the proclamation to Deborah Oden, who just happened to walk in. So this is a recognition, a proclamation recognizing the Mayor's Day of National Service, April 1st, 2014. And whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges, the nation's mayors are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet city needs. And whereas national service participants address the most pressing challenges facing our cities, from educating students for jobs of the 21st century and supporting veterans and military families to providing health services and helping communities recover from natural disasters. And whereas national service participants serve in more than 60,000 locations across the country with commitment, dedication, and patriotism, expanding economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities, and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. And whereas national service participants increase the impact of the organizations they serve through their direct service and by recruiting and managing millions of additional volunteers. And whereas the Corporation for National Community Service is joining with the National League of Cities, City of Service, and Mayor across the country to recognize the impact of service on the Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service on April 1st, 2014. Now therefore, I, Jim Ruane, Mayor of the City of San Bruno, do hereby proclaim April 1st, 2014 as National Service Recognition Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of national service in our city. Rico, would you present this, please? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I always get so excited.
Thank you. Much fun.
Huh?
Much fun with it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to apologize for being late, but I was at Millbrae prior to coming to San Bruno.
Did you
So thank
prioritize
May.
Millbrae over San Bruno? Or
Huh?
You didn't prioritize Millbrae over
No,
San
last year I
Bruno?
did this first,
Okay.
and then I went to Millbrae. So it was-
Okay. As long as we got it straight.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you very much for the proclamation. Just before leaving my office tonight, I checked on the Corporation for National and Community Service website, and you are one of over 1,248 mayors nationally that are honoring April 1st as Mayor's Day of Recognition of National Service. You are one of 40 cities in California. So we are representing about 15% of the mayors who are signing on to this. So I'm real pleased about that. The federal agency is the Corporation for National Community Service, authorized by and funded by Congress. We've been in San Mateo County for 40 years. Like to say we're the best kept secret in town for those who don't know about us. Our sister programs are AmeriCorps and VISTA. VISTA is truly the domestic Peace Corps. RSVP is one of the 3 programs that make up the Senior Corps. We're the only non-stipend volunteer service, national service program that the corporation funds. We have volunteers doing all sorts of things, helping the communities that they live in, helping our county to be such a great place to live. And I thank you very much for this proclamation, and it will be presented at the RSVP recognition event on May 29th.
Great. Thank you for all your hard work. Now we'll move right to item 11, which is the annual report of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Randy Brace, the current chair of the San Bruno Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Thanks for having me here. I would like at this point to present the annual report of our committee for the 2013 year. I am the chair. David Nigel is the vice chair. Walter Bird, Henry Marr, and Jeffrey Tong are here as well, and we're also represented by Henry Marr and Cecile Rubies. And our fantastic city staff, Laura Russell, is here, and as well as Irene O'Connell for the 2013 year. So we, this past year, we sort of divided ourselves into subcommittees, and this gave us an opportunity to, in smaller groups, sort of brainstorm and come up with ideas and plans that we would present to the committee during our not quite annual meetings. Bicycle safety education, Crestmore Canyon trails, community bike rides, street conditions, and public service announcements are our current subcommittees that we talk about and present to the meetings. Our outreach and education program, again, we manned and supported a Bike to Work Day. This is, of course, in conjunction with commute.org. They've been a great friend to the San Bruno Bicycle Pedestrian Committee, and we really appreciate their help and guidance. We've been at the Posey Parade for the 10th year running. You've probably seen one of our tables and maybe picked up a flyer or two. And again, this is with the help of support from commute.org. They give us plenty of things to pass out to the community. We really appreciate their help. This is new for us. We've conducted 2 assemblies at the John Muir Elementary School, and they went over well. You can see a great turnout there. The topics were safety and maintenance. It's the law. Children must wear a helmet, and that, again, is one of the ideas that we've presented in the past with helmet safety PSA. We have supported city initiatives. We have reviewed and commented on 3 different grant applications. Excuse me. One was the OBAG grant, and that actually funded 2 projects, the Transit Corridor Pedestrian Improvement and the San Bruno Avenue medians. And the 2 TDA Article 3 grants, and we had one that was awarded for the Bicycle Pedestrian Master Plan. We've also reviewed projects for the Capital Improvement Program. And this is consistent with the Complete Streets policy that we are excited to be part of. Some of our 2014 goals, they probably look familiar from our past goals. We want to expand outreach to elementary schools. One of the things that we've done in the past is safety assemblies and walking school bus. We'd like to create more public service announcements. So with the fine help of Miriam at San Bruno Cable, she's really done a great job for us. And we all enjoy participating in development of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan. It gives us all a sense of community. We all appreciate doing it. And kind of new for us is we would like to develop outreach to receive input from the community, maybe get input from the citizens to find out if they have a vision, what they think bicycles and pedestrians will do in the future, specifically maybe along with the El Camino corridor, what's it called? The Grand Boulevard. So those are our goals for 2014. We have a vacancy. This is a great opportunity for more people to get involved. To be a member, all you need is to want to help promote pedestrian and bicycle safety awareness and access, and it helps to have a passion for serving your community. You don't have to be an avid cyclist, and we're really looking for people that like to get out and walk and represent the community on foot. And as you can see, if anyone knows of anyone, they can call the city clerk for an application. And here's a couple pictures of some of our committee members doing some of our outreach programs. And that's it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'd try to answer them.
Great. Any questions of our committee?
Mr. Chair, I don't have questions. I am beaming with pride here because I sit on the CCAG Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Board and constantly complimented about the San Bruno Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. And staff also, and staff especially because, because of the projects, because of what the cities want, what the cities have been looking to, basically in the last 10 to 15 years as far as connectivity and more ability for bicyclists to get around town and safety. And to be able to sit on this committee and see these grants be awarded to our community is very rewarding. So to staff and to the committee, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback, and so do the members. Thank you.
And our commissions, boards, and committees are really the lifeblood of what's happening. People don't realize everything's volunteer, but you all get it done. So we can't say enough about how much we appreciate your efforts. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you all.
Okay. Item 9, public comment on items not on this agenda. It is the council's policy to refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation and or action where necessary. and appropriate. The Brown Act prohibits the council from discussing or acting upon any matter not agendized pursuant to state law. Would anyone like to address the council under public comment? Step to the podium if you would, and just tell us your name and your street.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Former resident of San Bruno, 661 Easton, 20 years. Also former Operations Director for San Mateo County Mosquito and Vector Control for 40 years. What I'm asking tonight is for you as council members to ask for the resignation of your representative. And you've had plenty of time to look at the grand jury investigation. You've read that articles. And I didn't bring an extra copy, but I do have other documentation that shows beyond a doubt that not only was the board incompetent, but the manager. And this is something I've been working on for over 2 years now, waiting for the finals on the grand jury investigation, which was about a year ago. So please consider this. It's something I think that the constituents of San Mateo County and San Bruno deserve. This has cost the district over $1.2 million. $650,000 was spent. The money was taken, not $425. I was just at the last hearing at the courthouse. It's $260,000 for the forensic audit, several $100,000 to divert a lot of the energy away from the manager and the board from not doing their job. And when it all totaled out, it came out to over $1.2 million. I also notified Hartford Insurance. They haven't received one dime since I gave them the same documentation that I have in this binder, which I'd be more than willing to share, that'll show that that not only was the manager, but the district was completely incompetent at looking at their finances. There's things in here that just shows you that basically they couldn't even go through their Visa cards, and I was the one that brought that to the forensic audit. So please consider changing some of these people out. If you look at a lot of the other cities, some of these cities have done this and moved their representatives and replaced them, and I think that was the right thing to do. The only one that's been held accountable so far is the public. It hasn't been these board members that were neglecting their job as representatives to the cities. Thank you very much.
And just for the record, what was your name?
My name is James Counts, C-O-U-N-T-S.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Fadum, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Cappuccino High School. I'm the drama director for our spring production of Our Town, and I'm here tonight with two representatives of our cast and crew who would like to say something.
So we, the members of Cappuccino High School Drama, I'm Cambria and this is Bryce, invite His Honor the Mayor and all the distinguished San Bruno City Council members to attend our spring production of Our Town on February Saturday 12th, the 12th, at 7 p.m. or on Sunday, April 13th at 2 p.m. This is more than a school play. It is a tribute to our San Bruno community and a celebration of Our Town's centennial. Thornton Wilder's Our Town is set in a small town very much like our own, approximately 100 years ago. We think it is fitting to look back at life in that time as we celebrate the 100th birthday of San Bruno.
Our lobby will host a photo gallery of both historical and current views of San Bruno as part of our celebration. Our new theater is a valuable addition to our community and a great way to share theater, dance, music, and culture with all our neighbors. As leaders of our town, we want you to be there with us to share this special event. San Bruno has a rich and wonderful history. We have shared great memories growing up here and also endured a great tragedy. As we hold each other up and remember those we lost, it is comforting to know that we can take pride in our town and joy in the friendships we have made during our time here at Cappuccino High School.
So we do have some posters and complimentary tickets that the city clerk has. And as was mentioned in the letter, we are having a huge lobby display with the history of San Bruno. There are over 25 people in the students in the cast and a total of 21 working the tech as well. So we have 2 representatives here tonight, but it is a very large group of San Bruno residents, and we would be honored if you could be at our performances.
Good. Thank you very much, and we look forward to it.
Thank you.
It's great. Dave?
David Nigel, 520 Skyline. In Ontario, California, earlier this month, I attended my 41st conference for all park recreation commissioners and board members and professionals. And I'm very happy to report that we have raised over $30,000 in scholarships for people that are majoring in recreation supervision and park management. And as a very active member since 1980 of that committee, the city of San Bruno is always mentioned at the state level. I'm very proud to be able to do that. And I just wanted to thank the council for giving me the opportunity to serve on the commission. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dave. Okay. Anyone else?
Dennis Brager, 1012 Chula Vista Avenue, Burlingame, 30 years. For 15 of those years, I was pleased to be the trustee representing the city of Burlingame on the Mosquito and Vector Abatement District. It's kind of mixed emotions that I addressed the mayor and council today. It's kind of like seeing your mother-in-law, my mother-in-law, go off the cliff of my new Escalade. Your current representative always impressed me as somebody who was very detail-oriented, was concerned about the money, the policies of the district for the time I shared responsibilities with him. Somewhere along the line, the culture changed. The fiduciary responsibilities disappeared. Obviously, there was the embezzlement. But more importantly was the amount of money that is spent through legal fees. Actually, the amount of money spent in legal fees to support the current manager and the trustees exceeds the amount that is spent for the product that's used to kill the mosquitoes. I know I come from a 1947 background, which don't really understand the legalities of everything, but I think that's a little out of balance. I'm sure you read the, perhaps you haven't, because you have reams of things to read, but the grand jury report was very specific. Number 1, the manager is incompetent. Number 2, the board is incompetent. Number 3, 4, 5 just follow. At least 14 of the cities of the 21 representatives have replaced their representative. I think it's time. I've been doing my job for 2 years. I think it's time you do yours.
Thank you. Anyone else under public comment? All right, move right on to conduct of business. Item 10. 10A is adopt a resolution approving the installation of red curb striping for the San Bruno Grade Separation Project along eastbound Walnut Street, along southbound San Mateo Avenue, and at the southern intersection of San Mateo Avenue and Huntington Avenues.
Honorable Mayor, Council members, the intent of the presentation tonight really to give you a general overview of all of the traffic-related issue around the Grade Separation Project before the start of operation of the new station on April 1st. And you had in front of you a very very detailed staff report with all of the technical details necessary to justify all of the proposed changes around the project at the interface between the project and city infrastructure, city streets. I will present in a summary fashion what will be the recommendation for you, what action you should take tonight what specific action will be needed from during further action needed, and also I will give you a summary of the items which will need to be monitored, or only for information purposes only. Staff really recognized the challenges what you had to face during the development of this project through so many changes in the parking situation around the project. I just want to share with you that the main reason for those changes really was the only purpose that staff was working very closely with JPB to make sure that the impact of the project on the businesses and on the residents around the project will be minimized as much as possible. And I will let Rafael Bolon, the project manager for the project, to take you through and to explain in detail what the changes are since last September, when he had his last presentation on this subject for the project.
Thank you, Clara. So as Clara mentioned, I did present in September 2013 these numbers right here, which were at the time the total parking losses that were anticipated as part of the project. Since then, we've been working very closely with the city staff to, as Clara mentioned, minimize where possible the need to remove parking, and if required, to offset those losses using additional parking in other locations so that the net loss would be reduced. So 2 columns here I'd like to draw your attention to tonight. The first refers to what the council saw September 2013. That's kind of the cut to the chase summary table. The second one is the spots lost on the far right side. That's, as of today, that's the final parking. So it has changed slightly, as you can see in some locations, and I'll walk through exactly what that is. One final note at the bottom, there's a note, we're still working with the city in terms of if we can secure a short to medium term lease for the temp station parking, what was the temp station, then we can offset and more than offset some of these parking losses. So I'm going to go street by street and sort of focus on the numbers you see up top are the net losses. So it adds in some places, subtracts in others, but these represent the net losses. So at San Mateo, there's a net loss of 5. Since the September briefing, we've been able to preserve the spots, very critical to many of the businesses on that side of the street, as well as some of the spots on the extreme north end of San Mateo. So because of some of the offsetting, we're down now to a net loss of 5 at San Mateo. Walnut Street, which I apologize, I actually didn't present this back in September, and that was not anything other than my stupid oversight, but there are losses of up to 6 spaces at Walnut due to the fact that Walnut, which used to be a one-way street and used to be allow parking on one side, is now a 2-way street, partially to allow access to the new station. And because of that, there is no longer the width to have parking and 2 ways of traffic. So there's a total loss of 6 at Walnut. And as I mentioned, these areas are preserved up at San Mateo. Now, Huntington and First Avenue. So First Avenue, of course, initially we were showing very large losses there. Working with the city, working with the council, we were able to return these spots, parallel spots, that gain back some of those losses. There's still a net loss of 11 as a whole on First Avenue, but just to be clear, the parking spots that are lost are primarily the area immediately up by Melody Toyota, where there is a cul-de-sac, and so the road no longer exists, or in the case of a few of them, it's this crosswalk. We can't have parking in front of a crosswalk, so we lost a few spots there. And then finally, Huntington Avenue, there's a total loss of 16 at Huntington. Again, the major reason for that is to do with the fact that Huntington now ends earlier than it used to. So for those of you who recall, Canes used to flow at a shallower angle into the avenue, and now it is making a proper 90 to line up with the old Canes alignment, and because of that, we lost 2 spots here. As to the Artichoke Joe's side, it's sort of, we gave up some, we gained some, because basically as the entrances to the parking lot switched, we lost parking where the new entrance is, but we gained it where the old entrance was. So finally, just reiterated at First Avenue, because this is the one where we've really focused a lot of our efforts since September. These are the parking spaces that are being added. So they'll essentially be parallel type parking spots. They'll be marked with the actual lines as you see downtown. And they will start, this is Pine Street here. So they'll start right where the crosswalk at Pine is and run all the way to the existing cul-de-sac at First Avenue. And I'll turn it back to Clara to continue the presentation.
As a result of the overall situation what Raphael presented is due to the regulatory requirement by the city on those streets. Is our recommendation to install no parking zones in 3 locations. Eastbound on Walnut Street, southbound on San Mateo, and at the intersection of San Mateo and Huntington Avenue. And I will show you on a summary map. Raphael already explained why is needed the parking restriction on Walnut, that now Walnut is 2-way instead of 1-way. On San Mateo is the proposed parking restriction is on at the entrance in the parking lot of the new station, and the intersection at Huntington, the parking restriction is to the location itself, is in that curve itself in the intersection of Huntington with San Mateo. Those 3 actions are the actions recommended for your approval tonight. I want to summarize and to call to your attention the pending recommendations, which is staff intent to come back hopefully next council meeting, if not with some of those items the following council meeting. And those are 2 items in essence. One is to recommend installation of ADA parking zones in front of the American Legion and also in front of the property 880 on San Mateo Avenue. Staff already made assessment of the feasibility of installation of those parking, ADA parking restriction at those locations, but due to lack of time for proper public communication for the installation of those type of restriction will be necessary additional time before staff will come back to you for our final recommendation. And also with the special parking district is work already started and is underway to establish the proper boundary of the proposed parking district, and my department will work very closely with the police department to make a final recommendation for your consideration on the boundary and the requirement for the special parking district around the project. And the third and the last item for your information tonight is I just want to call your attention to some of the most sensitive area of the project, which will be require further monitoring. And it's not our recommendation or assumption at this time, but if further action will be needed, then staff will come back with further recommendation. And those are intersection at San Mateo and Walnut. As you recall, initially the station was designed to have the main entrance on Walnut, and that's why initially it was recommended as part of the project to install that stop sign on San Mateo and Walnut. Due to the change of the entrance of the parking facility for the station, is a difference requirement and difference warrant for that location. And installing right now the stop sign at that location may be even further impact the north San Mateo traffic being so close to San Mateo. Reason why staff does not recommend at this time installation of the permanent stop sign at that location, but jointly with PD, staff will monitor the situation. If later on we'll follow with a warrant study and we'll see if any changes are necessary. The same situation on those newly created 5 parking spots on San Mateo, close to the intersection southwest corner of San Mateo and San Bruno intersection. Some concern was expressed that those parkings are, even if that intersection was widened, maybe they are too close, those parking spots, to the intersection, and will have a negative impact on the movements, right turn movements on at that intersection. At this time, staff recommendation is not to implement any restriction and to leave the parking at that location, but staff will monitor the situation. If any action will be needed, then, if you can go to the next slide, and then will be our intent to come back. And the next 2 items really are only just for your information that as part of this project also additional 2 crosswalks were installed. Now First Street will become a dead-end street, and at the end of that street will be a crosswalk. Is no action needed by you, but is for your information at this time. And also at Sylvan, the same will be a crosswalk at that location, but no action is needed from you at this now. It's just for your information only. Those were the summary traffic-related issues around the project. And if you have any questions, certainly Rafael has more detailed information and understanding of the project, and both of us will try to answer any question what you might have.
Okay. Any questions of staff at this time? Ken?
If I could, and yeah, everything's very clear and very thorough from what our experience has been in the last couple months. One thing that when we were out and did the field study on San Mateo Avenue by the train station, some of the business owners were very open to wanting to consider limited time parking on the east side of San Mateo Avenue because of the fact that, because now that there's commuters, you know, that on-street parking that we took away and then now we're preserved is going to be at a premium. And so we need to either implement some sort of, you know, parking plan or have limited time parking to discourage commuters from, you know, from parking there, and also from discourage businesses from taking those spots for, you know, 72 hours.
staff heard those comments and also those suggestions, and those will be included in our discussion
Yeah.
during the consideration for the special parking district for that area.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Through the chair, I just wanted to make sure that some of the concerns that were raised last time, as far as notification, as far as everybody being on the same page, the businesses having an understanding when things were happening, how they were happening, why they were happening. To Ken's comment too, as far as the green zone, I think that has been something because there is, as was, where the old site was, we had parking concerns as well. So obviously what's there is just going to be worsened because of the amount of traffic and the businesses that are there. And so I also wanted to make sure that the green zone is, because the question was asked, so I just wanted for clarification, the green zone in front of the market is preserved, is there, that is not
Correct.
changing.
Correct.
Because obviously I think that was detrimental to the business when they had nowhere to park. So I just want to make sure we don't repeat a path that obviously had a lot of concern by the businesses in that area, and I can't blame them. Parking is as a premium. I think they're afraid of what traffic is going to be brought forward. So how long do you see these special considerations being brought forward to the council? What's that time frame to bringing that back for our review?
Tonight, really, our intent was to give you a final situation, how is known by us at this time, and this is the final situation. Those two locations for blue curb or ADA curb will be brought back. It's our intent to come back hopefully next council meeting. And that is our intent today. On the parking district, probably will take a little bit longer, that many items and issues will need to be considered. Some of the business owners even raised the possibility to enter the city to start and try to negotiate some agreement with JPB to provide additional parking in their parking and some other favorable consideration due to the impact of the project. And all of those issues will be incorporated, those special consideration for time parking or dedicated parking, special parking will be part of the discussion for the special parking district. And certainly our intent is to speed up the process. Our initial recommendation was to experiment first to see how the opening of the new station, what impact that will have. But lately, staff heard more and more urgency about starting the process and to have something in place sooner and later. And it's our intent to do our best to come back as soon as possible for your consideration.
Anyone else? Mr. Rico?
Robert Rico, 7th Avenue. Just two questions. I wasn't able to get by 880 San Mateo Avenue. That currently does not have a blue zone. And what kind of business or residence is that is requesting? I'm not saying I'm against it, but I don't know what the need for a blue is until I know who it is. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I can answer that question?
Sure.
That is a request. That is the only only residential dwelling on that block, and it happens to be rented to a family with a 3-year-old with cerebral palsy. And so I'm sure that would be taken in consideration, and the blue zone may go with the occupant. So,
okay.
But those will be discussed. Thanks for asking.
Just for, in addition to your comment, based on our procedure, ADA parking is a special consideration and is tied to a certain yearly fee exactly for that reason. And each resident who apply for has to be responsible for renewing on yearly basis exactly for that reason, that if you say difference rental or somebody else will reside at that location, then that special preserved parking will go away.
And if I could, the discussion about limited time parking on that street, and possibly a parking permit might be in lieu of a blue zone. The concern, not only for this family, but also for the business owners, is to be able to have, as fair use of on-street parking, and not have to be fighting with the new user, which is potentially the commuter.
Any other questions? Action by the council?
This is a resolution? Yes. Through the chair, I'd like to introduce a resolution.
Okay.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar. Aye. Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item 10B, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract with D&D Pipelines, Inc. for the Spyglass Drive and Marion Drive water main improvements and replacement project in the amount of $385,600 with a construction contingency of $57,840 and appropriating $41,000 in water capital funds to the project.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and member of the council. On behalf of Public Services, I'll be presenting to you this project. The project simply consists of removing and replacing deteriorating water main pipe along Spyglass Drive and Marion Drive. The project was identified in the water master plan as a replacement priority. Back in 2010, the city completed a water main failure corrosion evaluation. That report concluded that the corrosiveness of the soil condition surrounding the ductile iron pipe, right now we have for the water main, has led to premature corrosion and water leaks. Back on July 23rd, 2013, last year, the City Council adopted a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a professional service contract with Hydro Science to provide professional services design for us on the subject matter. So staff and the Hydro Science engineers worked together and completed the plans, specs, and the cost estimate for the project. The project was advertised in accordance to the state contract code. Notices were sent to 49 contractors and 7 advertising centers. The bids were received and opened publicly. We received a total of 3 bids. And one thing noticeable about those 3, they all came higher than the engineer's estimate, ranging between 28.5% and 62%. Now, that was kind of triggered that staff to do more homework. So what we did is we looked at our estimate. The estimate that we have was based on the existing available bid construction unit prices that we have been experiencing in the past few years. Now, as everybody knows, for the past few years, we were in recession. People bid lower. Now, with the economy coming back and recovering, I guess the contractors are raising their prices. So that's it from one perspective. So we check the market. Today's prices is about 25% higher than what it used to be about a few months ago. The other thing I share with you, I have talked to a senior engineer in nearby city, and they received for a similar project, but at a larger scale, multi-million, with few alternatives. Out of all the combination, the lowest bid they received was 66% higher. And the highest is about more than double on a multi-million dollars. So the 28, I think, in my opinion, staff believe that it is justified. Okay. The lowest bidder was D&D Pipelines. Their bid came for $385,000 and $385,600. Now, we checked the submitted bid, all checked through references. They have the right contractor license to perform such work. Their references spoke highly of them. They have been doing, this is their first time they do something in San Bruno. Most of their work in the North Bay and Sunnyvale area. So we're recommending the approval of it. Now, with that, having said that, the construction phase, we estimate it to cost about $501,000. We have currently available, budgeted in the project about $460,000. So there is a difference of $41,000, which should be enough, sufficient enough to fund the construction phase. Now, the council has options. Do not move forward with the project. The second one is reject all bids and direct the staff to re-advertise the project. With that said, tonight, we are staff requesting the City Council to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract of $385,600 with a construction contingency of 15%, which is the amount of $57,840, and appropriating $41,000 in water capital funds to the project. With that, I'll be delighted to answer any question.
Any questions of staff? Ken?
So just to clarify, the engineer's estimate is based on past available unit costs, and so now you found out that there are, so you've corrected those unit costs.
Yes.
Is this the first project that it's pretty much has, surprised you on, on the bid outcome?
Yes. In the past few years, but we have seen something.
Seen a trend?
Below even the engineer's estimate. So to have it above but it was noticeable only 2 items. The difference between the engineer's estimate and the bid. Those 2 items, the differential between those two is the engineer's estimate about $30,000, and their number came about $140,000. And so it is, we look at the economy, the property has risen, construction.
I'm convinced as long as you've done the research and looked at, what the current trends are and what the current costs, unit costs have been coming out at.
Nader responded correctly. This was the first project which the department saw this increase. Unfortunately, already saw the next increase for our second project for the test well for well 15, which the bid just came in 2 days ago. That came much higher also. But this is the trend around us.
Okay. Any other questions? Action by the council?
Oops. I'll introduce the resolution. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item 10C, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to, one, execute a memorandums of understanding with the San Mateo County Transportation Authority for the Skyline Boulevard widening, Scott Street grade separation, Interstate 380 improvement program budget to include the Scott Street grade separation and Interstate 380 congestion improvement projects. And two, amend the 2013-14 capital improvement program budget to include the Scott Street grade separation and Interstate 380 congestion improvement projects, and approving $7,500 from Measure A funds.
I have the extreme pleasure to entertain you a little bit longer tonight. The intent of this item to give you an update on 3 projects on State Route around the city. The city is surrounded by state routes, and certainly the operation on those state routes had a major impact on the overall traffic circulation in the city. Reason why whenever opportunity arises, based on your direction, staff very aggressively seeked out any funding opportunity to improve the operation on those state routes. And that was the case in the case of these 3 projects. Measure A funding became available in 2012. You supported staff to sponsor and co-sponsor the application for 2 projects, for the widening of 35 and also on safety and congestion improvement on 380. The widening of 35 was sponsored by the city and co-sponsored by South San Francisco, and the safety improvement on 380 was sponsored by South City and co-sponsored by the city of San Bruno. Last year in September, another funding opportunity came along with also Measure A funding for grade crossing, and you supported in September of last year staff to apply for funding of preliminary engineering study, update study for Scott grade separation project. The city, like most of the time, was successful, and funding was approved for all of those 3 projects. And the action requested of you tonight to authorize the city manager to enter in a memorandum of understanding with the TA for moving ahead on those projects. No funding will come to the city. In our quality of sponsor or co-sponsor for those projects, the city responsibility will be to collaborate to help the TA for public outreach, public input, and to act as an advocate for those projects. I will just summarize what those 3 projects entail and the funding for those. Widening 35 would be widening between Sneed up to 280. The available funding will be $850. This project already was included in our CIP. Is the estimated staff time is about 30,000 a year staff time. The total estimated cost then will be 90,000 for the duration of this alternative analysis phase for this project. This the funding is for preliminary analysis and also for the environmental phase of the project. Then additional funding will need to be sought for the next design phase and the construction phase for the project. For the safety improvement on 380, the approved funding is for preliminary project planning, in essence, establishing the problem and trying to come up with a possible solution. And the estimated staff time to participate in this project would be about $2,500. And the third project for the Scott grade separation project, the approved funding for this project for Scott grade separation and also South Linden, those two are one project application. You cannot grade separate or consider either of those intersections without to have an impact on the other intersection solution. Reason why is one and the same project, and our estimate of staff time for that project is $5,000. My recommendation is for you to authorize the city manager to enter in memorandum of understanding with the transportation agency to start the design on those projects, and also to establish those two projects in our CIP which were not established before, the improvement on 380 and also the Scott grade separation project. If you have any question.
Okay, any questions? Action?
I'll introduce, I'll introduce the resolution.
Go ahead.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. Item 10D, schedule study session meetings to review the fiscal year 2014-15 annual operating budget.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. We try every year to identify dates that we can hold on our calendar in order to make sure that we have adequate time to cover one of the most important annual activities that we undertake as a city organization, and that is the review and approval, the development, the review, and the approval of the annual operating and capital improvement program budgets. Specifically to the annual operating budget, we are asking the council to consider tonight identifying 3 study session dates. We've provided you with some proposed dates of June 5, 9, 11, or 12 that would allow us to complete, if you are able to identify dates in that general time frame, would allow us to complete review of the budget in sufficient time to incorporate any items or issues that the City Council may identify through that review before the budget is presented for your final consideration and approval, now scheduled for their second meeting in June on June 24th. So in order to provide enough time, we're looking for your agreement to calendar 3 dates. In past years, it has generally been possible to move through the study session review process in 2 meetings, but we want to make sure that we have plenty of time to meet that interest. So with that, we look for your guidance.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Rico?
A couple of things. For the first study session, what is the projected timeline that we'll have of receiving the budget for review prior to the first study session?
It is our intent to deliver the budget to you at the end of May. So depending on what date you select, you would have approximately a week.
Okay, so 7 days or so. Second question is, last year, I had a concern, and of course, maybe for not, but just last year there was, because we were at the second meeting last year, and we had a few days before the budget ran out. And because there was one resolution that was brought forward, it was either you voted for the entire budget as was, or we didn't have a budget. So as I brought up then, I'm going to bring up again, if there either is, and you're more the expert than I, as far as either having enough adequate time to look at it, or if there was another alternative that we have, that be placed before us, so that we don't get ourselves into that situation that I somewhat went through that I know we've talked about. So hopefully that made sense, what I was asking.
Well, specifically to the procedural concern having to do with the timeline for approving the budget, it's really a matter of past June 30th for the city to engage obligations and expenditures without an approved budget. Beginning July 1st would require the City Council to adopt an appropriations resolution that simply allows expenditures to continue until such time as a budget is adopted. If it is the City Council's interest, we can certainly, there's a variety of things that we could consider doing. I think the most expedient, if it is of interest to the City Council, would be to direct staff to prepare both a spending resolution or an appropriations resolution and a budget approval resolution for the 24th. That would give you the choice of taking action or not taking action, but allowing you on the 24th to consider, in the event you don't want to take action on the budget, an appropriations resolution. That would be an expedient way to address the concern that you observed last year.
Thank you for that. I think you said it better than I. So as one person here, I would recommend and suggest that we have both.
Okay. Any dates?
I'm going to say, I'm going to jump in there. I would recommend we start on the 9th. I think the end of May, if we get the budget, it's Posey Parade is June 1st, and I know there's a lot of people in the community going to be involved in that, and I just don't want to be reviewing a budget too much. I'd like to have the week after to review it, and so I think 9th, 11th, and 12th would be.
Those are good for me also.
Yeah.
That's fine.
My only difficulty is I have a CCAG meeting on the 12th, but if I have
knock
to.
it out in 2 days then.
If I have to, I'll just cancel that one.
Michael?
I have no issue with those dates, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it. And finally, item 10E, adopt a resolution supporting Senate Bill 1345 to extend the repeal date to preserve the provision of existing state law for state oversight of the city and county of San Francisco's capital improvement program to restore and improve the San Francisco regional water system.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a fairly straightforward item and one that simply extends an existing program of state oversight to the very important San Francisco Public Utilities Commission project to rehabilitate the water supply system from Hetch Hetchy to the Bay Area. As the council is aware, that program has been in operation now for a few years. It is in total a $4.6 billion expenditure program. Includes a total of 47 projects, to date 25 of which have been completed. So there is still a substantial remaining workload to be completed. In 2008, it was identified that only 20% of the work program had been completed, or was expected to be completed by 2010. And at that time, the state oversight was extended through 2015. Due to a variety of unavoidable and unforeseen conditions affecting, at the minimum, one of the very, very important projects in this very important work program, the Calaveras Dam rehabilitation, there is now an anticipation that 2015, that completion of the program by 2015 is unlikely, I guess would be
politest way of saying
the
that.
easiest way to say it. And again, through a variety of unforeseen and unavoidable circumstances. I think there has been no lack of diligence in pursuing the program, but because this is such a critically important program to the regional water supply, and in particular to the city of San Bruno's water supply, we believe that it's prudent to weigh in on legislation that would extend the state oversight to assure not only that the projects are done in the best way possible, that they're done on schedule as best as possible and within budget. So with that, I'm recommending that this City Council take action to authorize support of the legislation to extend the effective date of the state oversight and authorize the mayor to send a letter to that effect. As the chairperson of BOSCWA, our regional water supply oversight agency, I would suggest that perhaps Councilmember O'Connell may have some additional comments.
You said it well. Thank you very much for covering all the important parts. It's crucial. If this bill is not extended, if the oversight is not extended, San Francisco, the official scrutiny of the program would go away, basically. So if they have a change order of magnitude of several $1 million, they just make it, and there's no state oversight in that. So even San Francisco sent a letter of support asking that the date be extended. So there is no controversy about it, and it's a prudent thing to do. So with that, I would introduce the resolution.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Medina.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye. We already had item 11. Item 12, comments from council members. Ken?
Through the chair. If I could, the partnership between the City of San Bruno and the American Cancer Society, Relay for Life San Bruno, had a really big day, really good day on Saturday. If you were lying under a rock on Saturday, you probably missed it. Batman and Harry Potter saved the day in San Bruno. In excess of over 200 people followed this traveling skit throughout the community, and it was just a testament to a great community supporting two young boys who have had bigger challenges with cancer, but fairly easily beat a villain in a really fun morning and afternoon. And I just want to thank the city for participating and having this partnership, especially the vice mayor who courageously took the place of the mayor on Saturday, and the city manager, community development department, the director, David, recreation services, the police department with a real great cameo role from the chief, carting the villain away at the end of the skit, and lastly, cable TV, which we hopefully anticipate we will all be able to see some highlights of it. But and also the senior center started it off. It was neat to have the seniors really participate in the skit as they were trying to fight off this villain, and it was the first case of Batman and Harry Potter coming along and and saving the day with the seniors. But more importantly, that the people came up that came said that it was such a great community event, and felt so good about these families and these youngsters. So thank you very much again.
Anyone else? All right, item 13, we have a closed session. We have a very short time to finish, so we're going to continue that. And this meeting is adjourned until our next regular city council meeting, be held right here on April 8th.
Sorry?